Hi, everybody. This is Sherry, and I'm the co founder of Peak. We're building an AI powered platform to help you track and grow your net worth. And I'm super glad to be able to have interesting conversations with people that are either building in the fintech space or doing educational content around personal finance. So I have none other than Chloe with me today on today's podcast to talk about her journey with creating Arigato Investor and how she became a self-taught investor herself. There's lots of great content that comes from Chloe if you just look across her various channels on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. But she'll share some of that today in our conversation, which I'm very excited for. Hi, Chloe. How's it going?
Thank you so much, Sharon, for inviting me. I'm always very amazed by all your content as well. You always share so much personal finance tips, a lot of about personal development tips on your social media as well. So thanks for having me today.
Of course, and I can say the same for you. Yeah, maybe we can start out with just a quick introduction, on your background and how did you actually get into building Arigato Investor?
All right. Firstly, yeah, if you people still don't know me, I'm also known as Arigato Investor online, and I think I started this like about 2 years plus ago. Like in the past, people know me as Chloe, but then now I was thinking like, how do I incorporate these very because I'm very very interested in Japanese culture. I speak and study Japanese as well. So as I was just growing on my own personal finance journey, I was inspired by many different elements. And one of the books that inspired me a lot is by Ken Honda, and he wrote this book called Happy Money, which in Japanese means arigato money. Right. So I was like, wow, this is such a beautiful concept that you are grateful for whatever wealth has brought you. You are also grateful to give wealth to other people, right? Give power, give knowledge to other people. Then I was thinking, then why not I incorporate that to my own investing? Because of investing, it has changed my life. I'm internally grateful to this skill set of being able to continue to increase my income and my net worth through investing. And at the same time, I've been sharing a lot of investing tips and all this to my followers as well. So I was like, oh, then why not like I call myself the Arigato Investor, so that I can inspire more people to start on investing journey, and at the same time they also feel very grateful to investing eventually because they really use this skill set to empower themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like, and I actually just learned about the history of Arigato Investor from you just now, but I love how it references a very positive relationship with money, right? And I think a lot of times if you don't actively think about it or proactively try to approach it a healthy way, money can also be very toxic, right? And so I like that positivity kind of approach of how can money be something that you utilize as a resource to help you live the life that you want to live, right? Not be tied to it as a social marker or any of that. So I like the positivity associated with that.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Like, I think having enough money is just having an ability to live life on your own terms. It doesn't mean that you want to like spend like unnecessarily on things that you don't need. But it's more about having this conscious decision to know that you are able to create wealth and able to really live life, whichever way that you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to, hear from you in the beginning, right? Because, you talk about how, you kind of learned about investing yourself and were able to, very impressively build yourself up to $1 million by the age of 33. So how did you do that exactly? And how did you teach yourself throughout the process?
I think, firstly, I felt that there is nothing it's self-learned or self-taught. It's always about learning from other people. It can be from books, it can be from courses, it even can be from people's conversation, like for example, what we are having right now. So I felt that over the years, I was very fortunate to be able to learn from many, many great investors and mentors along the way. And I think when I first started, I think back then when I was very young, I did have a more difficult relationship with money because I thought that money was something that's very, very hard to earn. Maybe I need to bring back to a little bit where my grandma, you and I used to live, right? She is, I was actually born in China. So back then, many, many years back, China was still relatively poor, unlike today, right? So my grandma, she literally lived through the war and everything. So to her, thrifty is a must, a necessary habit right, in order for them to survive through. So I think because of that, I really had this very thrifty habit, which is actually good. Because even until today, right, even though I do have more wealth than I can spend, right now for my own spending, I don't spend unnecessarily because I felt that still being conscious with our decision is actually very important. So I was actually very thrifty since young. But at the same time, the other side of being thrifty is I don't want to spend, right? I don't dare to spend so much. And I felt because I always thought that money was very, very hard to earn. So it's only when I start to grow older with the people that I met and the amazing things that they are able to do, that made me realize that actually money is not something that it's difficult. You just need to cultivate the right skill set. For example, through investing, through business building, then you are able to earn money and actually create wealth in a much more effortless way. So that's how when I was in university, I started to explore the idea of investing, but I haven't started. I just start to read from different books and all this. And then it was only after I started working, my dad, because he got retrenched at the age of 50. And because of that, it really got me to think that if I just continue my path, being working for other people, which back then I was a journalist, right? So it was a fun job, but it was also a very tiring job. But I was also thinking about, from my dad's perspective, is that he could work in the same company for so many years, but still in the end, he can just get, laid off like that. Yeah. So that's when I start to think I need to have a different source of income, right? I cannot be just reading all the time. I need to start taking action and really learn properly. And that's how I start my own investing journey when I graduated from university.
Yeah. And, you talked about how, you grew up very thrifty because of the what your grandmother taught you about, money is hard to earn. And I think that is actually incredibly important. And even though I wasn't, born and raised in China, my parents were, and, they immigrated to the U.S. and didn't have much. So that same kind of mindset was cultivated in me. And even today, sometimes, even if I can buy something, I just don't want to do it because I still have that voice in my head from my parents of it's not worth the money, right? I can make it at home better or something like that. The flip side of that emotion of being afraid of losing money or spending it in places that are not worth the value is that you can be a little bit risk averse, right? And I'm wondering if you had any of that resistance or that fear in the beginning before you invest, because the thing with investing is you're always going to lose money somewhere, somehow in the short run, but in the long run, if you keep a disciplined approach, that's when things really pay off. But how did you get past that initial hurdle, right, where you have to change your mindset around money?
I absolutely agree with you, because we are so afraid of losing money, right? Because it's our hard-earned money after all. I actually did not start investing, like I said earlier. I've been reading, right? I've been researching a lot on my own for a 1 to 2 years, even before I had the guts to start taking action. So it was then I realized that, because even though despite how much I read, how much information that I think I got, I just didn't have the courage to get started because I was afraid, losing money. But eventually I just tell myself that if I don't even try out, then how would I know, right? How would I ever even actually know what is investing really like? It's like driving. We can be watching YouTube video, how people drive on YouTube, or reading books of driving books and all this. But if you don't even step into the car, we will never be able to truly learn how to drive. So that was when I think it's also part of it under my friend's influence as well, right? We basically started to say, hey, why not we just take this investing program together? Then at least we can have each other as buddy and keep each other accountable as well. So that's how I got started. Apart from reading books on my own for some time, then eventually have the courage to start by learning from someone else, attending courses together with my friend. And then because when you have a course, then there's a trainer in front of you, and the trainer will also show you, right, how he or she does certain things. Then you also feel more confident that, hey, he can do it, I can do it too. Yeah.
No, for sure. And you're going back to this aspect that I, really like about learning any new skill, which is having a community around you is so critical. Sometimes you have either somebody who's maybe not extremely ahead of you, but just a few paces ahead where you can see yourself getting there in a reasonable amount of time. And you also have people in your peer group who are like struggling together, right? Like you're all like trying to learn together, so you don't feel like, oh, I don't know as much as this other person. You're like, I can ask all the questions, right? So that the community aspect gives that sort of support as well as accountability for you to kind of go farther than maybe what you would if you just did it on your own.
I absolutely agree, because I think a lot of times, like, we all know that investing is important, and we all know that personal finance is important, but a lot of people don't do that is because they are alone, right? And then because of that, they kind of lose track, or they lose motivation to stay inside this, right, this path. But when you are having a community, like for example, when I'm having my followers, my students as a community, we stick to each other. And because, like for example, right now I'm the community leader, I also feel that I'm even more responsible for my own personal finance, because I'm like
setting an example.
Exactly, right? The people I'll look out for what I'm doing, right? So that I know that I have to make sure I do the right thing to lead them towards the right direction as well, right? And at the same time, the community help each other, support each other, and answer each other's question. And that's how we are able to stay closely knitted and do the right thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a fun thing that I always do like to ask as well. What do you think along your learning journey, right, of investing was the biggest mistake or the most impactful mistake that you learned, and what did you kind of take away from that?
One of the gravest mistake I've ever made was after I started learning about investing. I actually wanted to really make money fast. So I think that it's also quite common among people, because the reason why most people want to start investing is because they really want to make money. And who don't mind making money faster, right? Everybody wants to make that fast. And because of that, when I first started, I was like so many other people. I was very greedy, and I really want to make sure that I feel achieved, like, oh my god, this is such an achievement, I'm able to make my first $100,000 portfolio and all this. And because of that, I actually took very, very aggressive, right, even though I was risk averse in nature, but under friends, together, when you do this, you just felt that, hey, we are able to do this, and
let's do it together.
Yes, exactly. And because of that, I took very aggressive trades that were not suitable for my character. And at the same time, when the trades go against me, I don't know what to do, like, because I was still very new, and I just thought that, okay, I'm just going to let it be and it will turn out well. But it didn't turn out well, and I actually lost like 50% of my portfolio because of that. So that was a very, very painful wake-up call, because to me, then I realized that firstly, trading is not something that's suitable for me, because there will be people who are very good at trading, but if you don't have the card for that, you shouldn't force yourself to keep on doing that, right? So that was the first lesson I learned. And second thing that I learned that I think is even more important is the ability to just be patient and sit and let your money grow, rather than trying to chase quick gains, which can be very fast, but you can also lose it very fast as well.
Yeah, I think you bring up such an important point, and I definitely can resonate with, what you talked about as well. I think one of the bigger investing mistakes I made in recent history was actually how I approached crypto. I was just kind of caught up in the whole bull cycle that everybody else was, and I was buying NFTs. I was doing all sorts of funny stuff on decentralized finance because the yields just look crazy. And of course, part of me, like having studied economics, knows that like none of this really makes sense, but it was just really addicting, and you also kind of egged each other on if you also knew people that were doing that.
Yes,
so,
that's right.
I ended up losing like 5 figures, right, in what I was doing, in the kind of short term, trying to buy the hype kind of strategy. And I learned that actually doing a more kind of boring buy and hold of just like the major cryptocurrencies, if I still believe in that narrative broadly, right, just holding Bitcoin and Ethereum and a little bit of other stuff, right, I was able to make up what I lost, right, but it was just like doing nothing that actually ended up being a lot better for me. So I definitely learned my mistake, and it is painful for sure, but I think everyone has like some kind of lost story that they have, that they take away some lessons from.
Yeah, I think most importantly is like what you said, everybody when we enter the investing journey, it's impossible not to lose money, right?
Yeah.
Even though Warren Buffett said this, right? One of my favorite investor and favorite mentor, right? His rule number one is never lose money. But then if you look at out of his so many investing stocks and all this, there are stocks that he still lose money. But
He
it's
loses money, yeah.
overall, right? It's just
Yeah.
as that overall, if you have a balanced portfolio and you are in this game long enough, then you will not lose money. Right, because
Yeah.
you are investing in great, like for example, from the stocks perspective, you're investing in great businesses, you're buying them at a good price, and you hold them long enough, right? So
Yes.
even though some business do go bust, right, but you still have a lot of great businesses under your portfolio, which are going to do tremendous amount of profit for you in the long run. Then that's how you're not going to lose money. So I think it's about portfolio sizing as well, and also the time in the game, rather
Yeah.
than timing. Yeah.
Exactly right. So I love how you share so openly about your financial journey, and especially with your community. But one topic I really want to talk about is actually why there's still so much stigma around talking about money this openly. And let me just share a story, right? Just recently I just posted, well, I didn't think was going to be so provocative, but I guess kind of provocative post on LinkedIn about how talking about your personal finances, or even sharing like high level details of your net worth or your investment portfolio, shouldn't be so taboo, right? And I got really opposite responses. Like, some people are like, yes, this is the first step in the right direction for transparency. Like, how we learn is through each other, and like I think that's healthy. And then you get people who are just like, no, this is the only reason why people do it is to brag, and like it makes people feel like money is the most important thing, and it creates anxiety. So I would love to maybe hear your perspective about like why you think there's this stigma. Should there be this stigma around maybe openly talking about money this way? And how how can we kind of approach this sort of topic?
I think one of the things that we often see is because we in a society, right, we kind of like want to compare with each other. And because of this comparison mindset that people get very, I think a little bit like a scarcity mindset as well. Like, oh, wow, I don't want you to make more than me. Or when you make more than me, I kind of feel like you are being prideful and all this, and that's why you are bragging. So I think at the end of the day, it's I actually like that fact that the post that you shared, she was being very transparent, and she literally tracked her entire process of how her portfolio evolved over time. And I love that transparency. Like, if I'm a consumer as well, I felt that, oh wow, right, if this is what she's doing, then I can consider doing similar things as well, as long as I understand what I'm doing and what she is doing, right? So that's why, like, even for my own followers, I do share with them very openly, like, what I do, because I just want to show them that, hey, this is exactly what I'm doing, right? Like, I don't want to just share that, oh, this is what you can do, this is what you can do and do this. But it's like I'm really living the example. I'm just living my own words, and that's why I feel confident about what my investing methodology is, right? Because literally my majority of my wealth is being tied to that. So I felt that would give people more credibility and more confidence to start on this process. But at the same time, I also know that there are society that money is very like a taboo. Like, for example, recently when I went to Japan, Japan is a country that money is very sensitive. Right? They don't want to talk about it, and they feel that it's evil. But at the end of the day, if you really think about money, if you are able to create that kind of wealth so abundantly, you can give abundantly as well, right? Don't you agree that with the abundant wealth that you are able to give, or the rich people are able to help, you make the world better, right? Then why not have this abundant mindset to firstly celebrate each other's milestone, right? Oh, congratulations, thanks for sharing with me, and this is how I can learn it as well. And at the same time, right, like help each other to give money to other people who need it more, and that's how we are able to improve and evolve as a society. One of the investor I respect a lot, his name is Manish Prabhai, and he is known as the Warren Buffett of India. So he himself, as a fund manager, he's already so well to do, right? He's managing like billions of dollars, right? His net worth is over a billion as well. And at the same time, because he's so rich, right, he's able to use this wealth to help charity organization. So one thing I respect him a lot is he literally run charity like how he invests in businesses. He has selection criteria, and he's able to send like people who are in India, super poor kids, who have no access to education whatsoever, but he's able to set up a school there and teach those kids and get really high quality education, and eventually send them to great universities in India, which is very, very rare. But because of his wealth and what he's doing, he's transforming life, right, to in a way that we can never imagine if we don't have the wealth, right? So why not just embrace the wealth and think about how you can give wealth to others as well?
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the concept of arigato money, as you talked about, right? And
Yeah.
that, like, money shouldn't be viewed as this, hey, it's a limited pie, and we're competing with each other for the pie, but we can all actually collectively work together to improve our own pies, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're getting there, right? I mean, there's some spaces where, some topics used to be taboo to talk about. I mean, one example I can think about is, it was totally taboo for a while for mothers to talk about how challenging pregnancy is, and postpartum depression is, or even talking about miscarriage. That was completely taboo, right? People were like, this is such a private matter, like you shouldn't go talk about it, blah blah blah, right? But actually, my best friend in the US, she had 2 miscarriages before she finally
dear.
was able to have her baby recently.
Wow.
And she felt like it was just such a great way to talk about her
Yeah.
journey and connect with other mothers who've been through the
Exactly.
same thing. And it's also very practical, right? It's like, okay, what can you take potentially for the
Yes.
next pregnancy to, increase your odds? And
Yeah.
and I think this is an area, again, was super taboo to talk about just a couple of years ago, right? And now people are more open. I think the same thing should happen with money. It's just that, I think a lot of people's social norms are very hard to break, and I think it takes like maybe people like you and me who are maybe a little bit more open about doing this stuff to just kind of be a bit bolder and share, even if people are like, why are you talking about this, like just be bold and share, and know that like what we're doing is in the angle and aim of helping other people, right? It's not in the aim of
Yes.
saying like, hey, this is how much I have and I feel great about it, but it's more like, hey, like I learned how to do this because people around me taught me, and it's
Yeah.
a bit of like paying it forward by sharing, okay, here are the steps that I did to build my wealth to where I'm at in life today.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of Gary Vee. He talked about the importance of documentation rather than just trying to like impress or whatsoever. Because when you are documenting every day, like for example, let's say your personal finance journey, your investing journey, you are able to help people who are going through the same shoes as you, right? Or probably are you probably went through that, but people live through the entire journey as you
Yeah.
document through. So you are able to help so many people that you are unaware of online by just sharing your own journey openly. So I
Yeah.
highly encourage people to actually do that. Yeah, and you don't need to be an expert to do that. You just literally just document.
Yeah.
You literally just share, and you never know who are able to help, because just like
Yeah.
what Sherry said, sometimes like people don't want to learn from people who are like way ahead. Like for example, if you
Yeah.
ask like a beginner to learn from Warren Buffett, I think like they will even think that I don't even understand Warren Buffett, right? But
Yeah.
if they are learning from maybe from peers who are slightly better than them, or for example, like some of my students, my followers, they learn from me, even though I'm way Warren Buffett is like way further ahead, but they choose to learn from me is because they felt that I'm more relatable, right? And I
Yeah.
go through the journey that they are probably going through right now.
Yeah, and you know what? I think there's this irony where like people are more comfortable reading about people's net worth in like Fortune magazine and hearing, oh my gosh, how much is Kylie Jenner worth, or these celebrities, right? And that's totally fine. But for some reason, it's like, oh, but why would I want to know what my neighbor is doing, right? But then it's like, actually, what your neighbor is doing is probably way more applicable to you than somebody who is like the heir of like this empire, right? So the other way that I kind of handle, and I completely agree with you, like I document and journal and do it very publicly for my investing as well as my startup journey, is how I make it seem like I'm hopefully not coming off as bragging or whatever, is I tell you when I make mistakes. I'm like, here's where I lost money to, here's where I made a mistake in a decision I made, right? So it's like I'm being fully transparent. And if somebody were coming at an angle of trying to be egotistical or trying to one up each other, like you wouldn't write about that, right? Why would you put yourself out there that like, oh, I lost 30K, or like I lost 40% of my net worth, right? That I think then that authenticity can come out when you talk about the entirety of the journey, not just like the Instagram perfect milestones that you have.
Absolutely agree. And I think like nowadays, like after going through like with COVID, everything, the scene is changing. People are no longer looking for like gurus, right? They are looking for people who are candid. They're looking for people who literally just share what they're going through, like what you say, the mistakes, the gains and losses, so that they can learn from it. It's not just the perfect side of like IG. Every picture looks so perfect, but right now it's more like the raw kind of journey. But it's that raw kind of journey that bring people feel that, hey man, like this is exactly what I'm going through as well, and that's why I can connect with you, and there's things that I can learn from you as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I really like the Instagram handle that you mentioned, Sense of Independence. For those who don't follow her, she basically publishes very transparently her income, her expenses, and what she does with her investments or portfolio, and she will talk about her gains and losses, right? And again, going back to this whole like transparent journey aspect, she's talked recently about how she lost 10% of her net worth because she invests 20% in crypto, and therefore there's ups and downs when that happens. So if somebody doesn't really know how to invest in crypto or some of the riskier asset classes, then they might know, okay, if I put something as high as 20% into an asset class like crypto, do I want to deal with the same kind of swings that might be happening to my portfolio? So there's something super applicable, right, about the way that she's sharing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what do you think are other social norms that should be challenged around investing? Like, I mean, one conversation we have is around how, not enough women are investing.
Definitely.
Yeah,
so like I think since both of us are ladies, it's very like easy for us to observe that most of the time people who are inside the investing space are guys, right? Like are gentlemen. And of course there's nothing wrong, right? I think great that the guys are very eager to learn, to manage their wealth. But at the same time, I would also love to see more ladies entering this space. And in fact, I think over the past few years, right, since COVID, more and more ladies are getting online. And because online, it so makes their commitment so much easier as well, right? Because they can be taking care of their family, but at the same time, right, once they're done with certain chores, oh wow, then they can start to watch certain videos online and start learning their investing. So I felt that it's a definitely encouraging sign. But at the same time, if you look at my followers base, right, the split is still very clear. It's like 70 to 80% are still guys, and only like 20 to 30% are ladies. So I do want to see more and more women stepping out of this. It's not about like having that money means that like you don't need men at all and all this, but I feel that it shouldn't be anything about oh whether I'm more powerful than men or whatnot by learning investing, but it's really having that ability to be independent on your own, isn't it? Like how beautiful when you are able to have this financial independence and financial abundance without a man planning for you, because you are able to do it, right? And if shit happen, which in life, shit can happen, well then you can still take good care of yourself, and you can still take good care of your family. Because I know there are certain like some of my friends who are ladies in their like 40 and even 50s, they completely don't manage money. And eventually, when the marriage did not turn out well, they are in a very, very sad situation, right? Because they can only rely on whatever things that the guy is going to give it to them or the court is able to give it to them. Then what's next? Then a lot of them will start to feel, oh my gosh, then I need to start learning about managing money. But if you can just learn these things way earlier, right? Like in your 20s or in your 30s, then you are able to build this skill for the next 10 years, 20 years, and you know that no matter what happened, you are still going to be well taken care of because you have this skill set. And on on top of that, you're able to take care of your people as well, right? Whoever that you love. So I feel that women should definitely be more open to learning about investing. It's nothing complicated. You don't need to be a genius in math because I am not. But at the same time, you can keep things simple and do simple things like ETF investing that is still able to grow your wealth without all those mathematical calculations and all this.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one way to think about it is actually when you're choosing not to invest, you are actually unintentionally choosing to invest in only a single asset in your entire life, which is basically your partner, right? That whatever assets they have, as well as the income they generate and how long you can hold on to it. You're actually investing, but you're in an investing suite that's called concentration risk, right? And you always want to diversify and be able to have options because you never know what happens. And of course, nobody enters a marriage being like, you know what, I'm entering this knowing I'm going to get divorced. Like nobody does that, right? But that's the reality sometimes, right? Like it might, and it's not sometimes even about you at the end of the day. Maybe you have children at that point, maybe two, and the marriage doesn't work out, and maybe you have custody of the kids, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know how to manage all of this, right? So even if it's not for yourself, or you feel like, oh, I need to do this because I want to make more money and spend more, but like, what about for your own children, right? Like, how do you make sure that no matter what happens in your own kind of relationship, right, they are taken care of? And I do not know a world where you can do that without knowing what to do with your money. And one thing that really struck me as well when I talked to a lot of my, really smart, like working professional women friends who are, again, like partners at VC funds, like directors at companies, like super senior, very smart women, is that a lot of them just were like, I just didn't think about money for the longest time. It's like they kind of almost like went back to social norms that were stronger than what they were kind of like intellectually giving themselves the capability for, right? And so I remember, so this was one story about this woman that I know who is extremely successful for her age, right? And has made a lot more than I think a lot of us have before the age of 30, because she was very senior in venture capital and investment banking, but she didn't really invest much of her money. I think she had like almost like 50% of it as cash sitting in a bank account, and she did not realize that she was losing out on that until she got engaged to her fiance, and she realized, how does he have 2 times the amount of money that I have, even though I make 2 times the income that he has? And she realized that it came from investing, and now she's starting to like get into it because she was like, oh my gosh, but like she didn't. Again, maybe if she knew what people were doing around her, she would have like, it sparked the thought that like maybe I shouldn't keep it in a bank account. But she also felt like, wow, I really missed out, and I wish I started earlier. But I was like, at least you're starting now. You're still in your 30s. It's still okay.
And I think it's very beautiful that when you find a partner who is also interested in investing, and if the person encourages you to start, you will have more, more positive association with investing, and you want to start. And I think that's beautiful. And I think at the end of the day, right, it's not about it's more about giving ourselves, as women, the choice, the choice to be able to be financially savvy. Yes. Because at the end of the day, right, when it comes to relationship, imagine if your boyfriend or if your husband are into money, but if you are not, then there is also a very clear distinction between like the topics that you can talk about. But imagine both of you are interested in personal finance. This could be another common topic that you guys can have a very good conversation, and you can exchange ideas how to manage wealth together as a family unit, and give you yourself also the liberty of choice that how you want to manage your wealth versus the family pool as well. So I just sometimes feel sad that there are some ladies that they get stuck in a marriage because they are afraid to step out, right? Because one of the huge drawback that's holding them back is because they are not financially savvy, right? And that's why they are afraid, oh, once I step out, what can I do with my marriage? What can I do with my life, even though I'm not happy with marriage, right? So I think at the end of the day, it's like if you are able to have that choice, the power of choice that give you yourself the ultimate happiness, right? Then why not go and pursue it? Why not go and learn how to master it? And you are able to definitely be a lot more independent, a lot more attractive as well, and then and at the same time, be happier, right? Because you literally have the financial capability.
Yeah, absolutely, right. It's at the end of the day, it's you said it rightly. So it's not about like women being like, I don't need a man, and I don't want to deal with having somebody who can work with me together on this. It's more like choice, right? That you can enter into a marriage knowing that you're doing it because you love the person, not because you need the money, right? And that you are able to leave something that I don't know, isn't making you happy, or it's not good for your mental well-being, because you know that you can stand on your own 2 feet financially, and that's the ultimate freedom, right? To be able to do that.
I love that. I love how you summarized an entire thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Chloe, this has been such a good conversation. I feel like you have one of the most positive and empowering perspectives on money. It is such a hard topic, I think, still to this day for people to talk about with each other, because we're in a place where we feel like it can be a bit taboo. There's still some stigma around talking about it. There's a lot of insecurity that becomes attached to it. And some of it comes from our upbringing. Some of it comes from like our lack of knowledge and feeling like, we're just so far away from like where we can't, like where other people are. But the reality is, getting started, as hard as it sounds in your head, is actually not as difficult as you think it is, right? It's reaching out to a friend who invests, or it's opening up your interactive broker's account and just like putting $2,000 in and just trying it out, right? Or it's telling your partner, hey, I want to try to start investing, let's maybe do this together. But it's nothing like, hey, I want you to go be Warren Buffett and pick winners. Like it's about the little things that just remove that barrier to help you feel like, yes, like I am and can be an investor at the end of the day.
Exactly. And I think like what you said, don't need to aim for like super high level first. Just start with something that's really simple, beginner friendly. Like for example, ETFs. I always share that with my community. I felt this is one of the safest and also like super profitable in the long run, right? So like sometimes that you don't need to like go for like individual stocks. You can like go for example S&P 500 that literally has the top 500 companies in the US, be it your Apple, your Microsoft, your Tesla, Google, they're all inside. And the best part is, if these companies become bad, they will be removed from S&P, and then the great new companies come in again. So it's like this engine, right? That the blood replenishes itself, right? We also know that as human, we need to like replenish our blood, right? So S&P 500 is like replenishing its blood, having the best companies every single time. So and historically has been giving investor about 10% year on year for the last 50 years, right? It's not like I'm talking about 5 years, I'm talking about 50 years, right? It's like really crazy. And if you just compound that, you are able to have your millions in a very, very peaceful manner, right? That you don't need to monitor the market, like stare at the chart every day. That's so tiring, right? But it's like just buy and just keep buying every single time, every single month, every single year, depends on you, and you see your wealth grow over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a stat recently I looked at is if you look at it 100-year period. There's only been 3 years where investing in the S&P or these indexes over a 10-year period resulted in loss. And I'm talking about like war times, there's like recessions and all of that. So basically 97% of the time, or even more, you put money for a 10-year period in an index and you will make money, right? And you'll make it at 10% annualized.
Exactly. And then when you are investing, we are also not just looking at 10 years. If you are looking at like a runway of 20 years, 30 years, there is so little possibility that you're going to lose money, because historically statistics have shown, right, that you are going to make money by investing in the market for a long period of time. So when you have time to be on your side and you just compound it at just 10%, you are going to get really rich over time, right? And that's what Warren Buffett also says, that, right, the most individual investors should just, buy the low cost index fund, which is S&P 500 in this case.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that I remind myself is, if there is a black swan event where suddenly markets completely melt and the world goes into like, whatever, World War III, right? We have bigger problems in our investment portfolio, right? So most of the time you're going to be okay. And even when that stuff happens, like, you're going to be worried about other stuff than just your investment portfolio.
That's right. I think if wars does happen, your life is more important.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So in a normal world, it should be okay. Thank you, Chloe, for your time today. This has been such a fun conversation. I feel like, at some point in the future, we'll have to, do it again. One last thing that, I want to ask you before closing it off is if people want to get in touch with you or follow your content, where can they find you?
They can find me on Arigato Investor. It's the same handle on TikTok, on YouTube, on Telegram. So even on my website, arigatoinvestor.com. So there's a lot of free content, even my free newsletter that share a lot of insights. Do consider to subscribe and stay in touch and stay connected to learn from each other as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chloe, for your time.
Thank you so much, Sherry, for sharing your amazing insights as well. I learned so much from your perspective and your conversation as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too. See you. Arigato.
Arigato.